Hello there, my name is Lou Wieland, and for the last 30 years or so I've published the official relocation guides on Atlanta that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta, which is the third largest or maybe fourth largest multiple listing service in the United States. They provide listings of commercial and residential real estate which realtors access for their clients to buy and sell real estate. The First Multiple Listing Service has cooperated with multiple listing services in surrounding states, including Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, and also Colorado. And they have about 64,000 realtors using that site. The First Multiple Listing Service also provides training for agents, and they do have 3 stores throughout the metro area that have our magazines, Community Profiles. The Community Profiles is on the website of the First Multiple Listing Service. They're on my website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. And with the there are several different editions. One is Atlanta, one is North Fulton, one Cobb, and one for Gwinnett. They are all published with the First Multiple Listing Service name on the cover, and are, like I say, they're in the stores. They're on the Multiple Listing Service. And we place the magazines in all the real estate brokerage firms in the metro area for use by the agents with their clients. They are, like I say, they provide information on all the counties and the communities, the schools, points of interest, etc. It's very comprehensive. And I'm also a commercial realtor with KW Commercial, and my area of focus is land and multifamily. And if I can help you, please let me know. My email is louwieland@kw.com, LOUWIELAND@kw.com. So that being said, every now and then, every week or so, we interview community leaders, people who are contributing to the well-being of the metro area. And today, we are happy as heck, as you can imagine, to have a great contributor to the well-being of the community at the Atlanta Alliance. It's at the Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance. Brian Dorelus serves as Senior Project Manager at that company, at Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance, which is the regional planning and economic development agency for the communities around Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Welcome to the show, Brian. Nice to have you. Appreciate allocating a little bit of your time to talk about your area of involvement. And Brian, let's see, before that, am I pronouncing your last name right?
Dorelus, yes, sir.
It's like a French-sounding name, Dorelus. Okay, so
Yes.
before that, Dorelus is like a, and before that he was at the Gwinnett Chamber, I guess, right? And you were involved with supporting the Gwinnett area and helping companies get situated there. You held a degree in political science from Georgia State with a concentration in international affairs. So great to have you. Thanks again for coming on the program, Brian. We look forward to lots of interesting information about the Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance. It's a nonprofit, and so let's see, you're public-private partnership working to improve economic prosperity in South Fulton and Clayton County. You're trying to stimulate economic development, and basically that particular area of the city generates almost $35 billion an economic impact for the metro area, providing over 63,000 jobs. And let's see, you are charged with the concept of partnering with and helping the cities of Hapeville, College Park, East Point, Union City, Fairburn, South Fulton, Chattahoochee Hills, Palmetto, unincorporated Clayton County, Forest Park, Riverdale, Jonesboro, and Lovejoy. And you have quite a few very cool initiatives that we can talk about, and include one. I would like to start by saying again, congratulations on your award of $64 million from the federal government by, I guess, the Atlanta Regional Commission for the Beltway, completion of the Beltway South.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yes. So, prior and during our inception, it was we really talked from a high level on creating a multi-use trail network around the region, right? And it's something that has been talked about, implemented, discussed, and parcels kind of separate in different jurisdictions. And so coming together as really a region, as Aerotropolis, being that master convener of all the municipalities in South Fulton and Clayton County, we was like, hey, there is an opportunity for us to really improve just the transportation and trail connectivity around our region. And it's one of those opportunities that's one of the lifetime opportunities, because this federal funding grant that we was awarded comes at no match. And even with our partners at the ARC who really spearheaded this, was saying, hey, even during their tenure, you usually don't see a 100% funding grant come down the pipeline. And so we gathered all of our municipalities and through the ARC, just because they have done so many transit studies and initiatives in the region and planning studies, like, hey, where can we use our existing trail networks to connect it to the Beltline? And so looking at the grant, we pulled together all the transit studies that we've completed in the past 6-7 years, pulled all the partners with the Beltline and presented it to the federal government. And by no stretch of the imagination, right? They love the grants. And one thing that we've seen federally is that they love when they see communities being cooperative, collaborating with each other. And so we was, super excited when we were awarded this project. So it's one of those things where this is a generational project. And we're excited to see the type of investment that comes through it.
Well, let me just reiterate one thing that I said earlier that I think is worthy of underscoring, and that is the airport area is the busiest and most efficient airport in the world and generates $34.8 billion in economic impact for the metro area and provides more than 63,000 jobs, making it the state's largest employer. So basically, this particular area of our metro area is pretty powerful in terms of its presence and its footprint. And I can see that. Can you give us a timeline on the Beltline South project? What does that look like going forward in terms of timing?
Yeah. So just because of the scale magnitude of this, this is probably a 7 to 8 year project. So we're expected to receive federal funding probably the end of 2024, early 2025 is when funds would be kind of diverted to the local level. But when you think about just the sheer scope of engineering, construction, planning, environmental, kind of doing really that deep analyzation of the built environment. As I said, this is at least from a funding mechanism, this is about an 8-year project underway. And this is not including the work that's going to be happening during this 8 years, and before. So super excited, but yeah, this is a huge win for the region.
Well, yeah, congratulations. Now, in other parts of the Beltline, there's been a lot of development, multifamily, residential, etc., which has generated a great deal of economic value. How will that play out on the Beltline South in your planning?
Yeah. So I guess, just to rewind about Aerotropolis a little bit, for us, economic development is one of our three big pillars, right? And so we work from uh, anywhere from multifamily developments to large corporate relocations to development of industrial parks for these corporate relocations. So we're expecting just the economic impact in the region to be very similar to what we've seen with the Beltline. And so, before this even goes, to the construction version, there's going to be a lot of conversation about community engagement. What are our communities want to see with, the kind of impact this is going to have? What type of developments that are going to be happening? So, you know, for us, especially being around Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, there are going to be some unique um, industries or developments that are particular to the airport area that you might not see in other aspects. Um, One being, because you're around Hartsfield-Jackson, as you said, busiest airport in the galaxy, generating so much actual capital investment and revenue. There is a huge logistics area, so you might see a higher concentration of that around Hartsfield-Jackson. Because of the airport being 2 hours away from almost 85% of everywhere you would need to go, there's going to be a huge focus in hospitality, I can imagine. And so there are very industry areas of focus because of the proximity to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
Well, very cool. Now, you also received recently a $100,000 grant from the Chick-fil-A Foundation. Is that right? How will that money be used?
Yeah, so Aerotropolis Alliance, we are a 501c6, so we are a membership-driven organization. So we are a true public-private partnership where a lot of our public partners are local municipalities, but a lot of private corporations that are in the region. And so Chick-fil-A being one of those private partners have seen the work that we have been doing in the region, has seen the success that we have when it comes to activating these catalytic sites. And they say, hey, what can we do to be a good corporate partner to help support the work that you guys are doing? So with we're so happy that they are willing to support our initiatives. You will be seeing a lot more workforce initiatives throughout the region. So we do a lot of place-based training within some of these target sectors that I mentioned earlier. You will see some of these catalytic sites are being actively promoted for development from the private sector. So large areas around our municipalities that if you inject investment, can have huge catalytic returns for not only the private individual, but for our communities. So you would start seeing this area move rapidly, the same type of investment that you see really happening in that North Fulton arc.
Well, that's exciting to look forward to that. That's going to put a whole new face on the area, I think. It sounds like it's going to be amazing what you're doing down there.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that you have underway and have had underway. And by the way, these initiatives are explained in greater detail on their website. If you just go to their website, Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance, aeroatl.com. Is that the site? Aeroatl.com, right? That's your
Dot
site.
org. .org.
.org, okay.
Yes.
So you can see, if you go to that website, you'll be able to see more information in detail on their initiatives. But we'll briefly just go through some of the very cool things that they're up to lately. One is, let's start with the Wilmingham Drive Corridor Study, and what does that entail?
Yeah. So, talked really a lot about connectivity, um, bringing multiple jurisdictions together to do these catalytic projects. And one of the first real projects that kind of showed this connectivity was the Wilhelm Drive corridor, which was funded through the Atlanta Regional Commission, really kind of analyzing this key corridor that sits between the Tri-Cities, so city of Hapeville, city of College Park, and city of East Point. And it's a key corridor because it literally goes through uh, really the bed of a lot of these communities. And so it gave us a lot of information about one, like the interconnectedness of our communities, but two, that kind of lays the one of the first initial planning studies that we use for these federal grants for these connecting the trails. And so we're super excited to really activate the Wilhelm Drive corridor. It's on that corridor is where you see the headwaters of the Finding the Flint River initiative, which I'll probably speak a little more about. But the Flint River being a massive river stream that the headwaters are starting right at William Drive, really underneath the airport. But if you kind of go down south um, into Clayton County and beyond, it's one of the major river streams in the state of Georgia. And so really kind of activating um, this this nature preservatory and making sure the community is allowed to interact with it is vital to the work that we're doing. And so just through this study, we're able to really understand what's happening in our built environment.
The Aerotropolis Atlanta blueprint that you're referring to on your website, tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that, please.
Yeah. So to give some context, in the state of Georgia, if any municipality wants to receive federal funding, they have to update their strategy plan every 5 years. And so as a nonprofit, even though it's not required of us, we wanted to kind of really match that timeline that our municipalities have to make sure we are keeping up with the marketplace. And so with Blueprint 1.0, was really kind of our previous 5 year strategy plan, right? Really trying to figure out what do we need to really do to activate and really move the community forward in unison. And so this is where we put together our target industries, right? What are the major corporations that you see really drive around airport development? This is where we really found out what's the kind of average salary, what are people are making within it, and how do we increase workforce. This is kind of the document that help us understand what are some of the key initial catalytic sites that we really need to push forward and activate to really make sure that we are creating quality of life, so bringing mixed use developments, but also job centers. And so one of the major ones, as we mentioned earlier, with Chick-fil-A donating this $100,000 to us was, this corporate crescent. What we found out was that really that north arc of the airport, you've seen a lot of the corporations who are really founding members of the Aerotropolis Alliance are headquarters. So your Chick-fil-A, your Delta, your Porsche. And so really understanding the built environment, really knowing how to adapt to the marketplace. Now we are happy to say that we are underway and should be finalizing our Blueprint 2.0. And so with 1.0, our last 5 year strategy plan almost wrapping up, how do we now plan for the future? And so with our Blueprint 2.0, we're talking about more workforce initiatives. We're talking about transportation. We do see some of the largest transit gaps around the airport, and then more catalytic sites, right? Where are areas where as I touched upon earlier, where if we brought a little bit of investment, a little bit of TLC, some time, love and care that really could transform this area tremendously.
The Aero Greenway Master Plan, tell us about that one. That's on your website as well.
Yep. And so the Greenway Master, it's the living document where we use to really see about this multi-use trail network around the region, right? And so it almost kind of spreads out as a kind of a spider web of existing trails, but future planned trails that we can really use to activate. So this was another project with the ARC. Probably during this interview, you're going to hear me say the Atlanta Regional Commission or ARC a bunch of times, since they are one of our biggest supporters and biggest project managers of what we do. But B, we're actually kind of a spinoff. This was an initiative founded and housed in the Atlanta Regional Commission prior to my arrival, and then just with the marketplace saying, "Hey, we need more activity with Aerotropolis Atlanta," kind of. So we are essentially a spinoff of them. So we operate really hand in hand with the ARC, and we operate really much in the same mechanism as they do. So, and I would say 95% of our projects, you're going to hear me go back to the Atlanta Regional Commission as one of those, those organizations that really do a lot of the good work behind the scenes. But with the Greenway Plan, right, really, how do we increase walkability in the region? One thing that we have found out just through extensive study is that walkability not only produces a higher quality of life for the community, but even a healthy lifestyle for its residents. And so, this was kind of the first real study that really shows, where we could create an intensive and a large trail network within our region surrounding the airport.
The Greenway Model Mile Feasibility Study, how would you define that?
It goes hand in hand. It's probably what we'll say is almost part two of the Greenway Master Plan, right? And so now that we have the master plan, what are some of the priority trail networks within them? And so the model miles are those. Okay, uh, now we have the larger trail network for the whole region, almost 2 counties, 15 cities. What are the model miles within each of those cities that was like, this is probably the first point of attack for us?
Okay. And then of course the one we've been talking about already is the South Side connectivity study. Why don't you do one thing, Brian, for us, and that is, some people might not really thoroughly understand the Atlanta Regional Commission and what is their purpose, and how would you define that entity?
Yeah. So each state has a designated EDO. So every state has a designated economic development and planning organization that is supposed to really kind of lead the large scale planning for the region. And so the Atlanta Regional Commission is that agency for that, where they're really the actors behind the scene to understand planning, transit, the way that our communities kind of interact with their built environments. They are specialists, transportation specialists, engineers, economic developers, community developments. They work in so many different planes and verticals. I mean, from transportation to arts and culture, right? To figure out how does arts and culture and creative placemaking really kind of interact with your city and municipality. And so they're the kind of the spearhead behind the scenes that really push just proper planning for really the region.
How would you kind of profile the workforce development plans that are underway over there, and what kind of values does that bring to the economy?
Yeah. So, with our workforce initiatives, one of the things that we found out just through our partners at Clayton States is that the average salary of the region, and when I mean the region, I mean Clayton County and South Fulton, is a lot higher than most people think. Um, and so, from a salary standpoint, I have to ask you, what do you think is the average salary of Clayton County and South Fulton?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes, what do you think is the average salary here?
For like a family income or just a one person or what? Like
Family income.
family income? I'd probably 65,000.
Yep. So very close. It's about 75,000. Um, but what we found out is that the those are jobs created here, right? The jobs that are in the region are about that much, but the people attaining those jobs uh, don't living in the community. So they're coming from Henry County, they're coming from the North Fultons. So what our workforce and development initiatives is really focused on is making sure that the people who live in the community are actually attaining these jobs to increase their average household income for economic mobility. And so we work with our local school systems, with Clayton State public school system and Fulton County public school system. We work with our post-secondary university partners, so Clayton State University, Atlanta Tech, Atlanta Metropolitan, Clark Atlanta, all come together to really be the brainchild behind our workforce development initiatives. And then we work with regional partners. Of course, I must say again, the ARC, but the Georgia Powers, the Career Rise, the WorkSource Fultons, and some staffing agencies, just all these entities that really are trying to promote economic mobility in the region. And then we really try to make sure that the community have the opportunity to attain a living wage, and get those jobs that are available, but that maybe require some upskilling, that might require some training, and just make sure those opportunities are readily available for the citizens here.
Could you elaborate on the training a little bit that you have and how people can avail themselves of that?
Yeah. So two of the biggest trainings that we do is within the construction and logistics industry. And so earlier this year, we hosted, in partnership with the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, at North Clayton High School, with this group called Strive ATO, a cohort for logistics training. And what they do is they provided wraparound services and upskilling for just the logistics industry and to make sure that they attain living wage jobs. So, of course, there is industry knowledge, right, to make sure they're getting credentials that can be applicable nationally. But there's also additional service like financial literacy, resume building, interview skills to really make sure that they are able to go into the marketplace and attain those jobs. And so we host these kind of cohorts. I would say almost biannually at this point. We're trying to pick up the pace and do maybe quarterly. We are now working with the city of East Point to host a cohort focusing on the construction industry. And so more information to come about that, but really trying to make sure that we are doing the upskilling and making sure that the people who are attending these get credentials, get those job trainings and those soft skill buildings to really become um, marketable in a marketplace.
Okay, well, Brian, we're almost out of time, but I want a couple of things that I loved what you referred to was, that we could talk about now or the next time you come on. That is the Flint River Initiative and the goal of increased walkability. I wonder if you could just take a minute, maybe 30 seconds each, and comment on those two topics.
Yes, start with the Flint River. So we have been behind the Flint River for quite some time. This is a project that escalated and blossomed through really the brainchild of Hannah Palmer, who's a local resident who really wanted to see this river being activated. And so the idea now is to really give the Flint River the proper care and attention and love and activate it the way that you see other main river streams in within municipalities. And so this river actually provides a lot of the water for agriculture in South Georgia. So I think it's the third largest river system in the state of Georgia. But it starts in our backyards, right? It's literally right underneath the airport at William Drive is where the headwaters. And so if you guys have been to San Antonio, I personally have not, but I heard that there is the San Antonio River Walk, right? And so kind of something adjacent in the vision of that, or something more closely to the Chattahoochee Riverland plans that the ARC is working on right now.
And like I said, like you mentioned, you the overall kind of macro goal might be increased walkability in the area. How would you briefly describe that goal?
Yeah, I mean, I think touched on a couple of different segments, but just to increase the quality of life in the communities, around Hartsfield Jackson Airport, and walkability plays a huge component of that. Getting out, experiencing, you know, your environment, walking to your local corner store or your local grocery store. And enjoying nature is something that is often, um, or until recently, maybe until the Beltline being the first big proponent, but it's often kind of lost in community development. But with what we've seen in the past 15 years, that hey, this is as big as anything else that's in your built environment. This is just as important as anything else. And so just to make sure that our community, because our communities can enjoy the same amenities that other communities have. Safer streets, sidewalks is very important to us.
What a great job of helping us to understand your mission and goals, etc., and some of the projects. I appreciate you coming on the show, Brian, and keep us posted. We'll have to have you back from time to time and keep us abreast on that 64 million and how that's coming along with the projects and some of these other initiatives. So, Brian, thank you again, and thank you for listening to Atlanta Community Profiles. If you missed this interview, if you're a realtor, you'll probably receive it in your inbox. It's going to be on my website, atlantacommunityprofiles.com, and we will be sending it out to all of the realtors via MailChimp this within the next couple day or two. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching.